A strange, haunting song echoes through a desolate, trash-strewn alley. The singer is a drunken man serenading the garbage with a bottle in hand. He finishes his tune, wondering if his one-man show is finally over. But his drunken stupor is shattered by a sudden, chilling realization. A figure emerges from the shadows, walking with a silent, determined gait. Before he can react, a monstrous claw grabs the drunkard, who tries to bargain for his life. The ground cracks under the sheer weight and power of this unseen creature. A massive crimson beast roars into existence, its demonic eyes fixed on its prey. The man can only stare in abject terror as razor-sharp claws descend upon him. But in a flash of light, the mysterious stranger intercepts the blow, driving a blade into the monster. The monster is sent flying, crashing violently through the parking garage. Our mysterious savior smirks, revealing he saw something the drunkard missed. He won't allow this beast to consume the hidden prize it was truly after. Wounded and enraged, the Crimson Demon lunges forward for another attack. Meanwhile, the battle's shockwave rattles a nearby elevator and its passengers. The couple worries about the explosion, but the woman's main concern is her car, of course. But their white-haired companion isn't scared. He seems to savor their terror. He then drains a strange, ethereal energy from the terrified man beside him, but his grim snack is interrupted as he senses a much greater power nearby. Deciding to break the rules, he turns his attention to the fight below. The white-haired observer reveals his true form, a monstrous, tattooed creature. With a piercing shriek, he dives from the elevator, joining the chaos below. Meanwhile, on a bus across town, a young man is jolted from his thoughts. He listens to a news report about the explosion in the underground parking lot. The report mentions 2 unconscious residents were found in the elevator. He gazes out at the city, the news weighing heavily on his mind. Suddenly, he finds his purpose, slamming his hand on a contest flyer. He rushes to sign up, only to learn his dream comes with a hefty fee. He protests in disbelief because, of course, his one big break is a total scam, but the contest official reveals a single unnerving eye, hinting at a darker game. The official laughs it off, calling the fee a simple preview of the real product. He wraps an arm around our boy, selling him a grand vision of the future. This isn't a scam, he insists, but a noble sacrifice on the path to greatness. And just like that, his rent money is gone in a single, hopeful transaction. The official then cheerfully points him toward a shortcut through a nearby alley. Fueled by his dream, our hero runs headfirst into the path he was given. But as soon as he's out of sight, the friendly facade completely drops. He lights a cigarette, a cruel and knowing smirk spreading across his face. The young man suddenly stops, a cold sense of unease creeping in. He wasn't led to a shortcut, but to a desolate dead-end trap. A voice cuts through the silence, asking if he's looking for a taxi. He looks up to see strange, ethereal blue lights floating in the darkness. Confused, he turns toward the source, wondering what he's seeing. Suddenly, the air crackles with an electric energy he can't comprehend. He can only watch, frozen, as the strange power manifests before him. And from the shadows emerges a figure, radiating an immense and terrifying aura. His eyes glow with crimson fury, a predator sizing up its prey. He lands with impossible speed, demanding to know who dares to interrupt him. Our boy, bless his heart, tries to de-escalate by asking for directions. But his question is answered with a swift, brutal display of overwhelming power. The world fades to black as our hero collapses to the ground. But his mind screams in disbelief at what's happening around him. The horned assailant is stunned, questioning how a mere human could resist. He realizes his illusion, his perfect trap, has somehow been breached. A brilliant green light erupts, tearing through the crimson dimension. The very foundation of his reality begins to crumble around him. His arrogant composure shatters, replaced by genuine confusion. Then a colossal bolt of lightning descends from the heavens. Our hero can only stare, having absolutely no clue what is going on. He's caught in a battle of titans, and he just wanted a shortcut. The force of the blast slams into him, a shockwave he can barely withstand. The green energy tears the crimson world apart from the inside out. The ground gives way and he plummets into an endless crimson sky. He tumbles through the abyss, completely at the mercy of these warring forces. His consciousness begins to fade as he descends into the unknown. His fall ends not with a crash, but a plunge into some kind of cosmic aquarium. And in this strange realm, a godlike being seems to be waiting for him. He has stumbled into the domain of a wandering god of the night. He awakens in a void, his mind struggling to grasp his new reality. Fragments of memories, not his own, begin to flood his consciousness. The memories show a conflict between 2 divine, white-haired brothers. One pleads with the other, calling his departure a betrayal of their father. But the first is resolute, seeking a new path and leaving a final warning. He walks away into the darkness, severing their bond forever. Our hero snaps back to reality, gasping for air in the same dead-end alley. He stumbles to his feet, wondering what happened to the warring titans. But a more pressing concern takes over, a sudden, ravenous hunger. He needs to find something to eat and fast. Interdimensional travel really takes it out of you. He stumbles back toward the contest table he saw earlier. But the place is completely deserted, the scam artist nowhere in sight. He decides to cut his losses, leaving the empty alley behind him. But the world now feels different, tainted by a predatory crimson hunger. An overwhelming urge to consume, to devour, echoes in the back of his mind. He stumbles through the city, his eyes drawn to the promise of food. The neon lights of the entertainment district offer a temporary distraction. But his search is interrupted by a loud, aggressive confrontation nearby. A young man is being accused of spilling a drink he hasn't even opened. The situation quickly turns violent as the bully grabs him by the hair. He screams in the kid's face, trying to intimidate him into submission. His smirking friend chimes in, setting up the oldest shakedown in the book. The bully continues his tirade, mocking the kid for being a student. He then spots someone watching and aggressively tells them to get lost. But the figures he's yelling at don't seem to be intimidated in the slightest. A strange man and a little girl simply stand there observing the scene. The man's expression is one of cold, calculating patience. He turns to his young companion, remarking that it's almost time to eat. The girl agrees, adding that their meal will taste better once their evil thoughts fester. A sinister purple aura begins to rise from the oblivious bullies. Dinner is served, I guess. Meanwhile, our hero is fighting a desperate battle of his own against a hamburger. But no matter how much he eats, the insatiable, gnawing hunger just won't go away. The crimson hunger finally takes over, wrapping our hero in a sinister purple energy. He's no longer in control, led by this strange power through the city's back alleys. The power leads him right back to the confrontation he was trying to ignore. But this time, he doesn't just watch, he steps in, grabbing the bully's attention. The bully's punches stop dead in its tracks, caught with impossible ease. With glowing eyes and unnatural strength, he easily overpowers the much larger man. And then, in a move no one saw coming, he gives the bully's arm a little taste test. The thugs are stunned into silence, completely horrified by this bizarre turn of events. With a chillingly calm expression, he declares that his meal tastes delicious. His friends, however, aren't scared. They're just angry he interrupted their shakedown. The remaining thugs charge in, clearly not getting the memo. But our hero doesn't even flinch as a strange power builds within him. His eyes now glow an intense blue, crackling with an unfamiliar energy. This isn't just hunger anymore, it's a completely different kind of power. With a single explosive burst of energy, he sends them both flying. He then gathers their sinister purple aura, consuming it like a long-awaited meal. The student he just saved can only stare, completely bewildered by the scene. But our hero isn't done yet, turning his attention back to the ringleader. He grips the man's face, his expression devoid of any human emotion. And with another casual display of power, he sends the final thug flying. Guess the shakedown is officially over. The final thug is slammed into the ground, his defeat absolute. But even after the fight, our hero is left feeling completely empty. The monstrous hunger still rages, demanding to be fed. He turns to the student he saved, his glowing eyes promising another meal. The two boys can only let out a terrified, high-pitched shriek. They scramble away, screaming for help from the very pervert who saved them. But their fear only serves as another source of power for him to consume. He finds their terror delicious, yet a part of him is disgusted by it. Suddenly, a crimson tendril of energy wraps tightly around his ankle. He's violently tripped and slammed face first into the unforgiving ground. He's left dazed and confused, sprawled out on the unforgiving pavement. He pushes himself up, trying to process the sudden, violent attack. He looks down in horror to see the crimson tendril still wrapped around his leg. The strange man from before stands over him, mocking his lack of control. He and his young companion grin, seeing our hero as an unexpected meal. The girl coldly suggests they finish him off quickly and make their escape. The man unleashes his true power, a monstrous aura of pure, fiery hunger. With a sadistic grin, he asks our hero if he's ready to be barbecued. The tendrils tighten, yanking the boy through the air and toward his fiery doom. But instead of heat, he feels a strange fire igniting from within his own heart. The fiery man gloats, claiming his flames can burn the very heart from his chest. He demands our hero surrender his spiritual power, laughing as the flames close in. Our hero grits his teeth, fighting against the searing pain and overwhelming fear. He realizes he must lead this monster away to protect innocent bystanders. But the crimson tendrils dig deeper, anchoring him to his fiery fate. His young companion grows impatient, demanding he stop playing and just kill him. Taking her advice, the man shifts into a shadowy reaper, raising a wicked blade. The blade descends with terrifying speed, aimed directly at our helpless hero. He reflects on surviving a lightning strike earlier, refusing to let his story end here. And in that moment of defiance, a new power awakens within his eyes. He can't die now, he hasn't even gotten famous yet. A tiny green spirit appears, casting a spell and screaming at him to run. The spell manifests as a giant ethereal broom, sweeping down toward the girl. Her cold composure breaks, replaced by genuine surprise at this new magic. The fiery man clicks his tongue in annoyance, his prey slipping away. The spell liquefies our hero, who is now just a sentient puddle making a run for it. He splatters against a wall, leaving the furious monster far behind him. Reforming his body, he exhales a trail of lingering blue energy. But his pursuer isn't giving up. Sensing our hero's power is nearly spent. His companion agrees, ordering him to wipe the minds of any witnesses first. The green escape spell opens a swirling portal in a different alleyway. It then erupts from a pile of trash on a nearby rooftop. Our hero is unceremoniously spat out, landing face first on the concrete. He pushes himself up, dazed and confused by his sudden teleportation. He wonders aloud why the earth swallowed him, questioning its hygiene standards. A strange voice cuts in, explaining that its melt power is what saved him. The voice belongs to the tiny green spirit who now floats before him. Our hero stares at the bizarre, floating creature that just saved his life. And his first instinct naturally is to smack it right out of the air. The spirit angrily introduces itself as a god, but our hero is having none of it. The little god tries to explain its divinity, but our hero is just confused. But a familiar scent cuts through the air, the girl from the alley. The spirit confirms his fears. Their pursuers are closing in fast. But our hero isn't about to let his only lifeline just float away. He grins, deciding to hide in plain sight at a nearby cyber cafe. He confidently slaps his ID on the counter, ready to blend in. The employee behind the counter looks like he's just seen a ghost. It seems our hero forgot that his new companion isn't exactly subtle. The kid shoots a glare at the floating spirit, his brilliant plan crumbling. He tries to play it cool, asking for a computer like nothing is wrong. The employee lays down a list of rules and fees, completely unfazed by his floating companion. Our hero shoots him a glare, clearly not in the mood for customer service lectures. He makes his way through the rows of glowing screens looking for an open station. He passes a blue-haired gamer, completely lost in his own digital world. Nearby, a girl with purple hair is fast asleep, oblivious to her surroundings. He walks past a vending machine, the sound of dripping water breaking the silence. Finally finding a spot, he drops his bag, ready to blend in and get some answers. He turns to the little spirit, demanding to know what kind of interdimensional nonsense he's been dragged into. The spirit begins its tale, explaining the existence of ancient demonic gods who feed on human desire. It speaks of a legendary human who sealed a demon, gaining its power for his own use. This legendary figure then killed 9 demon gods, passing the power of sealing to his descendants. Our hero wonders if this means humans have the power to fight back against these creatures. The spirit reveals the grim reason for their confidence. They've consumed human flesh. The kid is horrified, realizing he was just attacked by actual cannibals. The spirit explains that some demons evolved, learning to consume human desire instead of flesh. But our hero is done with the history lesson, insisting he's just a normal guy who got struck by lightning. The spirit corrects him, stating he is now both a night god and a demon. It reveals that by sealing it, our hero has inherited its power, becoming a demi-human. His mind immediately goes to the worst possible interpretation of demi-human. The little god smacks him, clarifying it's a ginseng spirit, not some kind of fish monster. Our hero's mind jumps to the most obvious conclusion: immortality. But the spirit quickly dashes his hopes, explaining he's still very much mortal. He lifts his shirt to find a strange, glowing blue sigil etched onto his skin. The spirit proudly explains this is the mark of their contract, a source of new power. But our hero isn't listening. His attention suddenly fixed on a nearby screen. The girl who was hunting him is on the monitor, pointing right back at him. A wave of pure panic washes over him as he realizes what this means. He stumbles backward, crashing to the floor in a heap of pure terror. A primal scream escapes him, his features twisting in monstrous fear. He scrambles away, screaming about ghosts, leaving everyone else utterly bewildered. The other patrons are completely unfazed, with one just assuming our hero went crazy. The sleepy girl he passed earlier just assumes he's watching a horror movie. But the girl who was hunting him is also here, her gaze fixed and silent. Her distorted face appears on the screen, welcoming the new demi-human. The little spirit screams in terror, identifying their pursuer as a demon god. She issues a chilling threat through the monitor. Run and everyone here dies. He's trapped, forced to choose between his life and the lives of strangers. The girl on the screen smiles, telling him she'll be waiting for him outside. Her message delivered, the screen flickers and dies, leaving him in silence. But the spirit reveals his name, Yang Mu, telling him he's no longer human. Yang Mu's fear turns to defiance, questioning if he can truly fight this demon god. Composing himself, he calmly reaches for a tissue from a nearby box. He stuffs the tissue into his nose, a strangely human solution to a demonic problem. With a feral grin, he thanks the annoyed employee, his terror completely gone. The employee can only watch him go, wondering what kind of horror movie he was watching. Outside, the demon god waits in the rain, greeting him like an old, lost relative. She casually suggests they fight quickly, as if this is just a minor inconvenience. The spirit offers a desperate plan. It will use magic to stall her while he escapes. But Yang Mu has a different idea, insisting he'll handle this the human way. He calls the police, reporting a fight between elementary schoolers at the cybercafe. The demon god scoffs at his human solution, lunging forward with a demonic snarl. With a furious shriek, she closes the distance, demanding that he just die. Yang Mu can't help but note the absurdity of fighting a demonic elementary schooler. He braces for impact, meeting her attack with a surprising burst of raw power. He stares at his fist in disbelief, stunned by his own newfound strength. The demon god seems impressed, acknowledging the power of his new demi-human form. But she gives him a cryptic warning, her glowing eye telling him to watch his feet. He looks down to find the puddle beneath him is no longer just simple rainwater. A shadowy reflection of the girl rises from the water, trapping him with her mirror technique. He fights desperately as the watery prison begins to pull him under. The little green spirit unleashes its own magic, casting a binding spell. Green tendrils of energy erupt from the ground, wrapping around the watery prison. The spirit screams at Yang Mu to run, admitting it can't hold the demon god for long. But Yang Mu turns back, a defiant glare replacing his fear. The demon god reveals her trick, creating multiple water clones of herself. She taunts him, challenging the new demi-human to find the real one. Yang Mu is instantly overwhelmed, slashed from all sides by the watery illusions. He can't find her true body, and the spirit helpfully reminds him he can't use its power yet. A final powerful blow sends him flying backward through the rain. He scrambles away, desperately trying to reason with the monster hunting him. She reveals she's eaten other demi-humans, but the spirit in him is a true delicacy. Yang Mu desperately tries to convince her he's not a tasty meal. He loses his footing on the slick pavement, slipping near a storm drain. With a loud splash, he tumbles backward into the cold, unforgiving water. The watery illusions close in, circling him like sharks in the rain. She mocks humanity's weakness, comparing them to mice fleeing a predator. Lying defeated in the puddle, Yang Mu can only call her what she is, scum. He then tries to play it off, claiming his fall was a calculated distraction. His brilliant strategy leaves the ancient demon god utterly confused. But his fear is gone, replaced by a cold resolve to show her one last trick. He strikes a dramatic pose, a wild grin on his face as he prepares his counterattack. The spirit panics, reminding Yang Mu he can't wield its spiritual power just yet. But a ball of blue energy forms in his hands, leaving the little god utterly speechless. The demon god watches with a hint of caution, surprised by this sudden turn of events. With a mighty roar, he unleashes his ultimate technique, the energy ball. Very creative. Both his ally and his enemy can only watch, stunned by this impossible display. He plunges the energy into the puddle, channeling his power into the water itself. The attack fizzles out in a massive splash, sending water and steam everywhere. The spirit realizes in horror that the idiot just blew himself up with his own attack. The demon god erupts in laughter, mocking his pathetic attempt and calling it fireworks. But his attack wasn't just a splash, it was a focused beam of pure energy. The beam slams directly into the demon god, catching her completely off guard. Her arrogant smirk is replaced by a look of genuine disbelief. The electrified water surges through her clones, tearing them apart in an instant. She can't believe it, muttering that this outcome should be impossible. The little spirit gloats, claiming it summoned a great warrior from another world. A strange silhouette begins to form in the mist, a hero of legend apparently, and from the mist emerges a pea shooter. Yes, you heard that right. Both the spirit and the demon god are left completely speechless by this development. The demon god erupts in fury, accusing the spirit of blatant copyright infringement. The spirit explains that to summon this legendary warrior, a sacrifice was made. Yangmu proudly declares he sacrificed his own imagination. Sure, let's go with that. The demon god erupts in fury, accusing them of ripping off a different game entirely. Our hero just shrugs, questioning if it can truly be called plagiarism in a comic. But the fourth wall break is cut short as the demon god's true form emerges. She reveals her monstrous moth-like body, enraged at being wounded by a demi-human. As his power fades, Yangmu's consciousness begins to slip away. He awakens in a serene blue void, completely lost and disoriented. A spectral young girl appears before him, calling him her eldest brother. With a peaceful smile, she thanks him, finally able to rest in peace. Yangmu tries to stop her, confused by her sudden appearance and farewell, but she simply fades away, dissolving into a cloud of ethereal blue light. All that remains of the spectral girl is a single glowing seed in his palm. The seed then shoots forward, embedding itself directly into his chest. And from his chest erupts a massive, soft, and frankly bizarre new power. The strange energy completely consumes him, leaving him trapped within its form. He struggles to breathe, suffocating within this strange, fleshy prison. But his discomfort quickly turns to a strange, unexpected sense of pleasure. He seems to be enjoying the unique shape of his new power a little too much. His mind snaps back to reality, his face flushed with embarrassment and confusion. He wakes from his strange slumber to find a mysterious woman watching over him. She casually explains his injuries from the previous night's battle, dabbing at his bloody nose. Completely flustered, his only coherent thought is that his savior is absolutely stunning. His admiration is cut short when he realizes he's tied to a bed, a helpless captive. Panic sets in as he screams, demanding to know why he's restrained and in strange clothes. His captor calmly notes his impressive recovery ability and his high-level demon god status. A new pair arrives, casually explaining he's tied up for safety since he's not yet registered. The writer is baffled, questioning what it means to be registered in this strange new place. The woman Fa introduces herself and reveals he's in a safe house for demi-humans like them. Leaning in close, she calls him by name and compliments him, leaving the young writer a blushing mess. A blonde woman appears with a pair of scissors, offering to cut him free. The rope that once bound him now lies uselessly on the floor. Yangmu is stunned, demanding to know how this stranger knows his name. The answer comes from a small girl who's been reading his ID from his stolen wallet. He despairs, realizing his rent money is gone and he's in for a world of trouble. He recalls the group introducing themselves as demi-humans, a claim he found hard to believe. But now the woman grabs his strange fleshy form, extending an invitation to join them. Yangmu's response is a little too enthusiastic to say the least. He presses his hands forward, eagerly accepting her offer of a firm partnership. The new alliance is sealed with a handshake that's more than a little inappropriate. The blue-haired man enthusiastically declares that a fight is the next logical step, but Yangmu's instincts are screaming that this feels an awful lot like a pyramid scheme. He tries to politely back out of the offer, claiming he has other things to do. His refusal is met with a dramatic display of heartbreak from the blonde woman. He stammers, trying to explain that it's all just a big misunderstanding. His explanation is promptly answered with a swift and brutal punch to the face. The blue-haired man tells her to leave him, saying a new demi-human can handle himself. The little girl watches the whole pathetic display with an expression of utter contempt. She calls him trash, prompting Yangmu to scream that he's done nothing to deserve this. Finally broken, he shoves his foot forward, agreeing to sign their bizarre contract. With his signature, Yangmu officially joins their strange little family. The contract is held up by shadowy figures, sealing a pact he doesn't understand. He immediately regrets his decision, a cold sweat breaking out on his skin. But before he can back out, a hand grabs him from behind. The blonde woman leans in close, asking if he's hungry. She drags him toward a bizarrely mangled table, promising to feed him. His insatiable hunger overrides his fear, and he gratefully accepts her offer. But his gratitude turns to shock as he finally sees his meal. A strange, bird-like head stares back at him from a bowl of crimson liquid. I'm gonna go ahead and say that's not tomato soup. With glowing eyes, she urges him to eat before his unique dinner gets cold. The blue-haired man's eyes glow red as he offers to take the meal for himself. His expression is pure predatory hunger, a demon staring down its next meal. A single thought echoes in Yang Mu's mind, a chorus of voices screaming at him to eat. His face twists in a mask of absolute horror, his stomach churning in revulsion. The blonde woman grips his head, her face a demonic shadow, warning him not to pity his food. His mind conjures a terrifying image of being cooked alive by his new friends, so much for a warm welcome. The blue-haired man is practically vibrating with excitement, urging him to eat so they can fight. But Yang Mu has a sudden moment of clarity, recalling a very important piece of advice. He hurls the bowl at his captor, deciding the best strategy is a tactical retreat. With a desperate scream, he makes a frantic leap for the nearest window, his appetite officially gone. The bowl of soup goes flying, its contents swirling with a strange blue energy. It crashes to the floor, the crimson liquid erupting in a geyser of power. The blonde woman complains that her feminine wiles are useless, a problem I'm sure we all have. But the blue-haired man's demonic grin promises there will be no escape. Yang Mu soars through the air, leaping from rooftop to rooftop in a desperate bid for freedom. He marvels at his own strength, feeling like the protagonist of his own story. He tests his newfound power, a blur of motion against the setting sun. But his brief moment of confidence fades, replaced by the urgent need to get away. His escape is cut short by a familiar voice, greeting him from a nearby rooftop. Yang Mu turns in horror, realizing the blue-haired man was waiting for him all along. The blue-haired man questions why Yang Mu is running, acknowledging his hidden potential. He offers a deal, survive one attack and he can become his apprentice. But Yang Mu isn't interested in a demonic internship and continues his escape. He's stunned by his own agility, realizing his pursuer is on another level entirely. He lands in a crowded plaza, seeing a chance to finally disappear. With a triumphant pose, he believes he can finally lose his pursuer in the crowd. But a hand slams down on the ledge above, shattering his brief moment of hope. The blue-haired man lands with effortless grace, the chase far from over. Yang Mu can only stare in disbelief, his escape plan already falling apart. His pursuer claps his hands together, as if this is all just a simple warm-up. Yang Mu strikes a confident pose as if preparing for a fight, but his confidence shatters as his body begins moving against his will. His pursuer watches from afar, mockingly noting his apparent confidence. He then unleashes his own power, a grand and theatrical display of energy. Yang Mu is forced into a bizarre pose, the first move in a deadly dance. He realizes with dawning horror that he is no longer in control of his own body. Ethereal hands surround him, forcing him through a series of humiliating moves. The blue-haired man explains his power, a demonic resonance that forces his target to mirror him. He warns that any mistake in this forced performance will be met with pain. And as the third dance begins, a powerful blow sends Yang Mu flying. Guess he missed a step. The second blow lands with comical force, as Yang Mu realizes this is no ordinary attack. His pursuer ignites in a fiery aura, announcing the fourth and penultimate dance. He's genuinely surprised Yang Mu is still standing, his grin turning into a menacing glare. A third brutal impact sends our hero flying, his body racked with pain. He desperately wishes for his little spirit, hoping to summon another copyright-infringing plant. The blue-haired man prepares his final move, warning that this last attack will be fatal. A colossal fist of pure energy descends, threatening to obliterate Yang Mu completely. Frozen in place, Yang Mu can only watch in terror, unable to comprehend the power before him. But a sudden, sharp slap across the face breaks him from his paralysis. The unexpected blow sends him careening sideways just out of the path of destruction. The colossal energy fist misses, tearing through the air with raw power. Yang Mu is left completely bewildered, wondering what just happened. But his confusion is met with another sharp slap across the face. The second blow sends him tumbling through the air once again. The energy blast continues its path, a testament to the power he just avoided. His pursuer stands victorious, declaring that the show is finally over. He laughs maniacally as Yang Mu plummets toward the ground below. But his laughter fades to a calm smile, promising to train his new apprentice well. Yang Mu, now covered in bruises, complains that the training was a bit excessive. We learn his new mentor is a low-rank demon god with stats that are surprisingly average. The blue-haired man is stunned, demanding to know how Yang Mu survived his ultimate attack. Yang Mu sarcastically credits his survival to having a good temperament since childhood, but he reveals a deep, burning hatred for being forced into the humiliating dance. And with that rage, he unleashes a powerful counterattack of his own. His mentor can only scream in disbelief, unable to process what just happened. The force of the blow sends the demon god stumbling backward across the rooftop. He clutches his face, desperately trying to keep his composure after the brutal hit. But the impact is too much and he loses his lunch. So much for demonic dignity. Wiping his face, he's forced to acknowledge his new apprentice's incredible power. But Yang Mu is already behind him, whispering a chilling warning about facing him up close. The tables have turned, forcing the demon god into a humiliating dance of his own. Yang Mu reveals he's figured it out. His mentor relies on strength, not technique. But his mentor is ecstatic, admitting he underestimated his new apprentice's power. He unleashes his final move, a swirling vortex of energy meant to end the fight. Yang Mu can only stare in horror, knowing he can't possibly survive this attack. The world fades to black as his mentor calls out for the 16th night. A pair of glowing sigils mark the point of impact in the darkness. The resulting explosion lights up the night sky, seen from across the city. Down below, civilians are rattled by the shockwave, mistaking it for an earthquake. But back on the rooftop, the demon god is left utterly speechless. His target is gone. The demon god grins, impressed by his new apprentice's unexpected survival. He realizes Yang Mu finally cast a spell, shielding himself in a strange green energy. Yang Mu immediately starts yelling at the little spirit for being late to the party. But the spirit is furious, revealing it's forbidden from appearing in the daylight. Their argument is cut short by the demon god's voice echoing across the roof. He's not angry, but ecstatic, thanking Yang Mu for the most fun he's had in ages. The spirit warns that his opponent is a singing serpent, a master of rhythmic manipulation. The demon god, bleeding but unhinged, screams his intent to fight to the death. But his dramatic declaration is immediately followed by him collapsing face first. Well, that was anticlimactic. The spirit explains that the demon god simply ran out of power, his body giving out from the strain. Yang Mu stands over his defeated opponent, threatening to kick him if he dares to move. The spirit muses that while Yang Mu has the raw power, he completely lacks any formal training. But its deep contemplation is interrupted by Yang Mu taking a victory selfie with his unconscious mentor. He then uses the photo as blackmail, threatening to report his mentor for harassment. The demon god tries to recruit him again, but Yang Mu is still convinced he's just a gang member. His mentor reveals he's part of the legendary One Team, his expression suddenly grim. The name sends a shockwave of realization through someone as the man makes an urgent call. He receives a frantic warning. A powerful demon has appeared and Yang Mu is the target. A quick breakdown reveals the different classes of demons and their respective strengths. But the call is suddenly cut short, leaving the blue-haired man screaming into a dead line. But the warning is cut short as the line goes dead, leaving him in stunned silence. With no time to waste, he hurls a small object directly at Yang Mu. He explains the jade is a token of their new bond, a sigil to identify him to other One members. The spirit, however, reveals that this friendship token is actually a low-rank demon. He admits he can't protect Yang Mu, vowing to apologize to his team before departing. But Yang Mu isn't about to let his only lead walk away, grabbing him by the hood. He admits the man's dancing is gross, but that's no reason to end their rivalry. With a surprising smile, he offers to help his former opponent face this new threat. His mentor is completely stunned by this turn of events. Guess blackmail really brings people together. Elsewhere, a powerful white-haired figure screams Yang Mu's name with absolute rage. Yang Mu finds himself in a strange, ethereal realm, face-to-face with a divine being. But the god's voice cuts through the vision, warning him not to waste time. He argues that Yang Mu's actions will reveal a god of the night has been sealed in a human. Yang Mu scoffs, wondering why it's such a big deal for a demon to be sealed. The god explains their sacred duty, to maintain the balance between all worlds. He warns that if Yang Mu provokes a war, he'll be held responsible, so no pressure. Yang Mu fires back, accusing the god of being afraid to fight. He declares that he doesn't care, he has to help the woman who saved him. The god erupts in fury, screaming that he's about to destroy the world's fragile peace. But Yang Mu stands his ground, promising to fix whatever he breaks. The god relents, telling Yang Mu to do as he pleases and save who he must. But he wonders how a mere human can be so defiant, unaware of the true consequences. Back in reality, Yang Mu scoops up his wounded mentor, who is less than thrilled about the ride. His new ally questions the source of his confidence, learning he's just a teenager. They arrive at the base of a towering skyscraper, their destination now clear. The two ascend a strange, ethereal staircase, climbing toward an unknown goal. Yang Mu cheekily suggests his wounded guide lead the way, a great way to preserve his own energy. but his mentor's confident stride falters, leaving a trail of blood on the ground. Suddenly, the world lurches violently, throwing them completely off balance. The floor gives way, plunging Yang Mu into a strange purple abyss. He lands in a strange ethereal hallway, calling out for his missing ally. The spirit explains they've been trapped in an illusion created by another demi-human. He kicks open a door only to find the exact same endless corridor waiting for him. The spirit calls this the Land of Dreams, a pocket dimension designed to separate them. Their mission is simple: find the others and find a way to escape this mental prison. As the spirit mentions a meeting of the 6 kingdoms, Yang Mu opens another door. At the end of the hall, he finds the blonde woman, wounded and alone. She looks up in disbelief, her face bruised and bloodied from an unseen battle. She grabs his face in shock, and Yang Mu's reaction is less than heroic. He struggles to focus, reminding himself that now is not the time for a romantic comedy moment. Yang Mu tries to play the hero, reassuring the woman with a very questionable smile. But her relief turns to terror as she screams a warning about the figure behind him. A new enemy emerges, a hooded man named Heng radiating a powerful purple aura. He receives orders over the phone, told to capture his target, not kill them. But he screams in defiance, clearly not one for following instructions. Now calling himself Lao Zhu, he taunts them about their newest unrecruited member. He grinds his foot into the floor, a casual display of immense power. Lao Zhu reveals he's done his homework, claiming to know their team's greatest strength. With a manic grin, he declares their strongest fighter is the little girl. And just like that, the girl proves him right, deflecting an attack with a powerful shield. Lao Zhu smirks, revealing he knew the girl was hiding all along. But his triumphant grin is wiped away by a sudden violent impact. He's sent flying backward, completely blindsided by the unseen attack. Yang Mu is just thrilled to see that her tails are also deadly weapons. The little girl, Xiaohua, reveals her true form, a 3-tailed yellow demon. The spirit realizes her demonic nature is the source of this powerful illusion. But Lao Zhu isn't finished, gathering his own energy for a counterattack. Despite the devastating blow, a warning rings out that he's still alive. He rises again, admitting his intel was wrong about the team's true power. His true form is revealed, a 3-headed beast that can survive decapitation. Yang Mu prepares to summon his signature, copyright-infringing attack once more. The little spirit struggles, unleashing a binding spell to create an opening for him. It roars with all its might, urging Yang Mu to finish the fight now. The forest tether spell erupts from the ground, ensnaring Lao Zhu in magical vines. But the beast's eyes glow, recognizing the nature of this strange spiritual power. He struggles against the magical bonds, his own demonic aura flaring in defiance. Seizing the opportunity, Yang Mu charges forward with a furious battle cry. His punch shatters a purple energy barrier, but the beast remains standing. Lao Zhu finally understands, accusing Yang Mu of killing the Crimson Demon from the alley. He scoffs at the comparison, promising he is a far greater threat than his fallen comrade. Yang Mu's face twists in shock, his confidence completely shattered. But before he can react, a fist slams into him with impossible speed. The impact sends a shockwave through the illusion, the very ground cracking. He screams in agony, the force of the blow breaking his ribs. The little spirit can only watch in horror as the direct hit lands. Lao Zhu's horse-like head mockingly asks if he enjoyed the attack. His true form is revealed, a 2-headed beast here for Yang Mu's delicious aura. Yang Mu realizes with dawning horror that he was the target all along. The spirit confirms their opponent is a demon god, a master of spiritual energy. The beast laughs, claiming they can talk this out. Yeah, I'm sure this will be a very civil conversation. The little spirit is just as confused as Yang Mu by this sudden offer. Lao Zhu offers a deal, join his group, Xinli, and he'll keep Yang Mu safe. But the blonde woman calls him out, screaming that his offer is a blatant lie. The beast ignores her, formally asking Yang Mu if he accepts this new world order. Yang Mu weighs his options, a bead of sweat rolling down his face. He then asks the most important question, what's in it for him? Lao Zhu laughs, promising a world of wealth, beauty, and immortality. Our hero clenches his fist, admitting the offer is almost too good to refuse. The blonde woman screams a desperate warning, telling him not to trust them. But their tense negotiation is suddenly interrupted by the sound of a ringing phone. The phone belongs to Lao Zhu, who casually answers the call mid-negotiation. He confidently tells the caller that the deal is done and Yang Mu is his. But his tone shifts, revealing the truce is off and the one team must be eliminated. The blonde woman and Xiaohua brace themselves, knowing the offer was a lie. Lao Zu unleashes his power, eager to show Yang Mu the might of his organization, but his attack is stopped cold by a massive green shield, courtesy of Xiaohua. The two women watch in awe as the barrier holds against the demonic onslaught. Lao Zu clicks his tongue in annoyance, his grand demonstration completely failing. Yang Mu finally makes his choice, rejecting the offer to protect his new friends. Enraged by the refusal, Lao Zu powers up, ready to end this negotiation with force. Lao Zu unleashes a torrent of demonic energy, shattering the very ground. Xiaohua can only watch in horror as the overwhelming power bears down on her. A colossal fist of pure demonic force descends, aimed directly at the little girl. The blonde woman screams a desperate warning, telling her young companion to escape. But it's too late. The impact sends Xiaohua flying, her defenses completely shattered. The beam of purple energy tears through the illusion, a testament to Lao Zu's might. The blonde woman shields the wounded girl, huddling together as their world crumbles. Lao Zu laughs, counting down his victories as two of his targets are now down. Yang Mu and the spirit can only watch, stunned by the demon's impossible speed. The beast turns its attention to Yang Mu, declaring him the final target. Guess our boy is next on the chopping block. The little spirit screams a desperate warning, telling Yang Mu to look behind him. But it's too late. A torrent of crimson claws tears into Yang Mu's back. The spirit can only watch in horror as its host is brutally torn apart. Lao Zu laughs, savoring the moment as his prey is finally brought down. The force of the blow sends Yang Mu hurtling through the endless corridor. He coughs up a spray of blood, his body broken by the overwhelming assault. Lying defeated, he wonders why his protagonist's plot armor seems to have failed him. But the little spirit isn't giving up, gathering its own power for a final gambit. It floats down the dark hallway, a beacon of light in this prison of illusions. Suddenly, a strange sound cuts through the silence, catching Yang Mu's attention. Yang Mu awakens in a celestial realm, wondering if he's finally reached heaven. But his confusion turns to agony as a golden light erupts from his chest. A hand reaches through the light, touching the source of the strange power. The hand belongs to a divine, white-haired figure from his earlier visions. The being pulls a glowing, seed-like object from Yang Mu's very soul. He explains it holds secrets he can't decipher, but feels like his father's power. Yang Mu's fear is replaced by greed, realizing he now holds these divine secrets. The two stand in a tranquil, watery void, the divine being seemingly unconcerned. With a confident grin, Yang Mu believes he's finally in control of his destiny. But the god has one final lesson: how to truly master the seal within him. But back in the illusion, Lao Zu's confident smirk is replaced by pure confusion. He turns to the blonde woman, impressed she survived his attack, but declaring her time is up. She glares back, exhausted but refusing to show any sign of surrender. Nearby, Yang Mu lies motionless in a pool of his own blood, seemingly defeated. But in his mind, a new feeling awakens, a defiant smile spreading across his face. As Lao Zu moves to consume the woman's spirit, she realizes someone is risking their life for them. Suddenly, a brilliant golden light erupts, catching the two-headed beast completely off guard. He recoils in shock, demanding to know the source of this impossible power. With a furious roar, a golden blur slams into the demon with devastating force. The blonde woman can only watch in utter disbelief at this sudden, heroic turn of events. Lao Zu stumbles back in disbelief, demanding to know how his target is still alive. But instead of a golden hero, Yang Mu has become a bizarre, muscle-bound balloon animal. The two-headed demon can only stare, his confusion now bordering on second-hand embarrassment. Ignoring his enemy, Yang Mu begins a mid-fight training montage, learning to channel his power. A strange blue energy flows through him, gathering in his right arm. His arm erupts into a monstrous, spiky limb, and he roars with delight at the raw power. A voice from his vision calls his name, a final lesson from the god he just met. But his focus is broken by the blonde woman, who's been watching this whole weird display and would really like some pants. With his new weapon ready, Yang Mu charges forward, ready to end this fight. He unleashes a devastating punch, slamming his monstrous fist directly into the demon god. Yang Mu grins with newfound confidence, declaring that the same trick won't work twice. But Lao Zu simply clicks his tongue, annoyed but ready to continue their little game. The demon roars in agony, the force of the blow coursing through his monstrous body. With his fist now back to normal, Yang Mu challenges the beast to a second round. A quick stat check reveals Lao Zu is a lower-ranked demon god with 3 distinct heads, so a triple threat. Yang Mu thanks him for the impromptu training session, but says it's time for him to die. His monstrous fist slams into the demon's guard with explosive, earth-shattering force. But Lao Tzu is unimpressed, admitting Yang Mu is strong, but far too slow. The taunt catches our hero completely off guard, his confidence faltering for a moment. And in that moment of hesitation, a brutal counterattack sends him reeling. Lao Tzu follows up with another brutal punch, shattering Yang Mu's defense. He unleashes a furious barrage, his fist transforming into roaring bestial energy. Yang Mu is completely overwhelmed, sent flying by the explosive series of blows. He barely manages to block the final strike, the sheer force cracking his arms. But in a moment of desperation, he calls upon a new power from the little spirit. Ethereal green vines erupt from the ground, glowing with magical energy. The magical plants lash out, slicing through the demon's body with surprising speed. But Lao Tzu just laughs it off, mocking the attack's pathetic weakness. He breaks free with ease, landing another devastating blow on our hero. Lying broken on the ground, Yang Mu is told he's just a useless human playing hero. Lao Tzu gloats over the defeated Yang Mu, calling his team a complete waste of time. The blonde woman hangs her head, crushed by the demon's words. But as she walks toward him, she calls out his name, her voice filled with resolve. A flashback reveals her past, a captain who always failed to protect her friends. She recalls the fear of every mission, the desperate measures she took to keep them alive. Yang Mu's response to this heartfelt speech is a massive, heroic nosebleed. She then transforms into a man, unleashing a new power and vowing to fight alongside him. Yang Mu can only scream in confusion, completely baffled by this sudden gender swap. Even the two-headed demon is stunned into silence by this bizarre turn of events. Wasting no time, the transformed warrior lands a devastating blow on the distracted demon. The horse-headed demon is stunned, realizing his opponent's speed is far greater than he expected. The little spirit explains the warrior's demon is both male and female, a fact Yang Mu is clearly struggling to process. The transformed warrior brandishes a curved blade, revealing it to be a top-tier spiritual artifact. Lao Tzu grins, thrilled to finally face a worthy opponent and unleash his full power. He fires a massive blast of demonic energy, a shadowy silhouette against the blinding light. But Yang Mu emerges from the smoke, ready to summon a new, hopefully less copyright-infringing companion. He presents his latest creation, a sentient Wing Chun training dummy. Yes, really. Lao Tzu roars in defiance, charging forward to test the strength of these so-called weak humans. With a confident shout, Yang Mu orders his new wooden friend to teach the demon a lesson. The beast unleashes a furious barrage of glowing blue claws, a technique called devouring claws. But the transformed warrior, Ye Meng, meets the demon's claws with a powerful punch of his own. He reveals his unique ability, a defensive field that deflects all incoming attacks. The force of his blow sends Lao Tzu's horse head crashing hard into the wall. But the fight is far from over as a new attack cuts through the air. The demon's second head lunges forward in a vicious spinning blur, and in a shocking display of brutality, it tears Ye Meng's head from his shoulders. A primal instinct echoes through the demon's mind, to kill and consume. But Lao Tzu's victory is cut short as a new head begins to regenerate. Guess that's one way to cure a headache. This is all done in the name of a new world order, a new set of principles. Her first act upon returning is to scream a desperate warning to Yang Mu. Her warning delivered, the warrior collapses to the ground, her power completely spent. Yang Mu can only let out a sigh of relief, narrowly avoiding the unseen danger. But the blonde woman is suddenly ensnared in green energy, screaming his name in terror. Sometime later, in the quiet hallway of a clinic, a janitor goes about his work. A bandaged Yang Mu peeks out from a room, clearly planning a stealthy escape. But he's caught by the woman, who gently reminds him he's in no condition to leave. He sits up in bed, insisting he's fine now that the three-headed demon is gone. The woman proudly displays a vase, explaining it formed from the demon's aura and will make them rich. His mentor asks if Yang Mu saw the demon's memories as its power dissipated. But it's a little hard to take him seriously with that flower sprouting from his head. Yang Mu snaps back to reality with an embarrassed scream, leaving his new teammates utterly confused. In his mind, he asks the divine being the most pressing question, what's with the flower? The god explains the seed absorbed the demon's power, allowing him to manifest in the daylight. Yang Mu wonders if his true power is summoning heroes, since his wooden dummy also has a flower. He asks the blonde woman if there's a known demi-human ability related to flowers. She explains their team is low-ranked, and suggests he visit the One headquarters for answers. But Yang Mu is completely lost, having no idea what One even is. He's given a history lesson on the ancient organization that protects humanity from demons. The pieces finally click into place for our boy, a look of dawning realization on his face. He assumes he's a chosen one, but she quickly clarifies he's just another recruit for their struggling team. The blonde woman warns him that his soul is now a target, making it too dangerous to go anywhere alone. Yangmu realizes the new principals group was behind the contest, a revelation that hits him almost as hard as her hug. In his mind, he recounts the events to the god, remembering how the illusion was broken just for him. He finally connects the dots, realizing the one-eyed contest official deliberately led him into the trap. The god suggests that finding this official is the only way to uncover the truth behind the conspiracy. Back in reality, his teammates' protective instincts are a little suffocating. He struggles to break free, pushing away from his overzealous new ally. With newfound resolve, he vows to find the man who tricked him and make him pay. His mentor is ecstatic, seeing this as a perfect excuse to go hunt another demon god. But the woman insists they stick together, pulling him back in for another round of tactical smothering. Yangmu is completely overwhelmed, his heart-shaped eyes showing he can't handle this much affection. Their hunt for the one-eyed official begins at the very building where the scam took place. The team blends into the city crowd, searching for any sign of their elusive target. Nearby, a man tries to chat up a woman, oblivious to the demonic hunters in their midst. Yangmu stands before the contest banner, ready to face the man who started it all. With a confident smirk, he declares that his quest for revenge starts now. A quick stat check reveals his new ally is a shape-shifting androgynous demon god. So that explains a lot. He stares blankly ahead, a free pass hanging from his neck, looking completely out of his depth. He's surprised by the size of the crowd, realizing the contest is more popular than he thought. The little spirit appears, sensing demonic auras and urging him to use his power to find them. His eyes glow with an ethereal blue light as he scans the crowd. He sees the truth. This isn't a contest, it's a gathering of monsters. His teammate confirms his fears, revealing most of the crowd are demons. So much for blending in. She explains this event is a truce, a rare moment of peace between warring factions. But Yangmu only has one goal, finding the man who set him up. Suddenly, his wooden training dummy appears, trembling in absolute terror. A massive foot slams down before him, belonging to a familiar, unwelcome face. Yangmu's rage boils over as he recognizes the one-eyed contest official. The official greets him with a demonic grin, mocking him for the trap he fell into. With a cold sneer, he laments that our hero is unfortunately still alive. The official leans in, his words dripping with a twisted sense of familiarity. But Yangmu's mentor charges forward, eager to take on this new devil himself. He's immediately blasted backward by an unseen force, his attack stopped cold. 3 shadowy figures with glowing red eyes emerge, their auras radiating immense power. The blonde woman screams a warning, realizing this demon god is on another level. The official calmly warns them to stay put, claiming he wants to avoid a fight. Yeah, right. But Yangmu lunges forward, challenging the man who set this all in motion. The official simply smirks, inviting him to a private fight away from the crowd. He then leaps away, and Yangmu can only scream as his target tries to escape. The official disappears into the crowd, leaving Yangmu seething with frustration. His teammate gives him a confident thumbs up, warning him that this is definitely a trap. But Yangmu doesn't care, charging forward with a promise to spring that trap himself. He sprints across an open field as the official's voice asks someone if Yangmu can see them. Yangmu glances back at the spirit, demanding to know why the official called it brother. The spirit reveals the official is its long-lost brother, another god of the night who joined the enemy. It can't understand its brother's motives for turning Yangmu into a demi-human. The official welcomes him with a bloody grin, surprised he survived the other assassins. He finds himself in a strange new dimension, a watery prison of glowing sigils. One of the official's bodyguards steps forward, mocking their chances of survival. The world gives way beneath him, plunging him into a deep, watery abyss. Yangmu struggles against the current, wondering how he ended up in an aquarium. The little spirit realizes they're in a demon god's world, a trap set by its own brother. In the distance, the one-eyed official stands perfectly still, the master of this watery domain. One of his bodyguards, now in full scuba gear, swims past him with purpose. Guess someone came prepared. The diver complains about taking orders, revealing a clear lack of respect for his boss. But the official just sneers, calling him useless and claiming this is all for their saint. He orders the diver to kill Yangmu quickly and retrieve the spirit. The official laughs, promising that if they survive, they'll meet again on the battlefield. Yangmu holds his breath, his expression hardening with a silent, defiant resolve. The assassin scoffs, annoyed by the resistance but ready to finish his mission. The assassin introduces himself as He Lu, a member of the New Principles. We get a quick lesson on the world skill, a rare power that creates these pocket dimensions. He Lu wastes no time, firing a high-pressure blast of water at our hero. The attack sends Yangmu reeling, his lungs screaming for air. The force of the blow ripples through the watery prison. He then unleashes his next technique, the deep-sea strangler. An invisible force closes around Yangmu's throat, crushing the life out of him. The little spirit, in a new and very angry pufferfish form, screams at him to fight back. Yangmu focuses his energy, preparing to unleash the power of the seal within him. The assassin is stunned as Yangmu breaks free, realizing his target is far more powerful than he thought. A strange, flower-like energy blooms in the water before shattering into golden light. The spirit warns him he's outmatched, but Yangmu calmly prepares to face the impossible odds. He Lu taunts him, claiming a weakling like Yangmu wouldn't last 3 minutes in a real fight. With a furious glare, the assassin prepares to end this once and for all. Meanwhile, a man in a vest looks out over the city, musing that this is his brother's hometown. But his quiet moment is interrupted as he hears a distant, unnatural sound. He turns with an annoyed expression, wondering if someone is fighting outside the city limits. With a dismissive scoff, he takes a drag from his cigarette, clearly unimpressed. A fiery aura erupts around him as he angrily questions who dares to fight in his territory. Back in the watery prison, Yangmu unleashes his own technique, 1,000 blades of pure water. The assassin scoffs, claiming he's a tactician from the Six Kingdoms, not just a brute. The little spirit screams at Yangmu, urging him to use the spiritual power all around him. Focusing his will, Yangmu finally unlocks the spiritual seal of the God of the Night. He resolves to cast spells instantly, just like his mentor, the 16th Knight. With a roar, he unleashes a flurry of energy blades, a technique he calls flying blades. The countless blades slice through the water, a storm of pure spiritual energy. But the spirit screams in terror as the attack converges into a massive, uncontrolled explosion. Yangmu looks smug, having mastered a technique that took the spirit a century to learn. The little god can only stare, wondering how a new demi-human could be so gifted. The assassin's scanner reveals the truth. Yangmu's power now rivals a top-tier demon god. He Lu challenges him, unleashing a volley of high-pressure water arrows. The assassin's ultimate skill, Jinjiang arrows, fills the watery dimension. But Yangmu just smirks, completely unimpressed by the incoming attack. His confidence is shattered as the arrows tear through him in a spray of blood. So much for that smirk. The assassin stares in disbelief, wondering if his target could have possibly survived. Even the little spirit can only watch in horror, fearing the worst for its host. The world seems to scream his name as the impact echoes through the void. The spirit reminds us that this world skill is a rare and deadly power. Yangmu clutches his wound, trying to brush off the hit as a mere scratch. But he knows the truth. He's outmatched and won't survive another direct blow. The spirit realizes this pocket dimension makes the water arrows impossibly fast. Yangmu agrees, deciding a tactical retreat is the best course of action. But he stops dead in the water, a sudden horrifying realization dawning on him. The spirit panics, having forgotten a very basic rule of being underwater. With his lungs burning, Yangmu begins to drown in this watery prison. He Lu gloats from above, standing before a massive ethereal dragon. He promises his attack will make Yangmu's death look like a simple heart attack. But a new voice cuts through the silence, asking if the fight is truly over. The assassin is stunned, his focus completely broken by the interruption. A brilliant slash of energy cuts through the water as He Lu demands to know who's there. A new figure stands in the water, his power parting the very sea around him. He clenches his fist, questioning who would dare cause trouble in his domain. His glare is one of pure contempt, as if they should already know his name. With a single gesture, he splits the entire dimension, sending everyone plummeting. The assassin can only scream in disbelief, his perfect world shattered with one hand. Both fighters crash to the now solid ground as the watery prison collapses. Yangmu lies dazed, somehow still breathing after nearly drowning. Plot armor for the win. But He Lu refuses to accept defeat, preparing to cast his ultimate skill once more. Their mysterious savior moves in a blur, screaming a warning to watch out. He appears between them, effortlessly deflecting the assassin's next move. The assassin can only stare in disbelief, his confidence completely shattered. He questions why his power has failed, unable to manifest his pocket dimension. Their savior scoffs at his pathetic attempt, mocking his tiny 9-meter world. With a flick of his wrist, he unleashes a flurry of energy blades that tear the assassin apart. He then reveals his own power, a true world of endless, windswept plains. The assassin recognizes the techniques, his mind racing to identify this new threat. He screams the man's name, Zhao Lingfeng, as Yang Mu wisely decides to play dead. But his brilliant plan is foiled as Zhao casually kicks him awake, telling him the fight is over. He then grabs our terrified hero, telling him not to worry now that a real fighter is here. The defeated assassin reveals this is a breach of truce between the Xinli and One organizations. Zhao Lingfeng explains he was just a spectator but might have to play security captain. The defeated assassin screams a final threat, vowing that Zhao can't protect Yang Mu forever. But Zhao scoffs, asking if his opponent was ever taught to respect his elders. He unleashes a torrential downpour of countless energy blades from the sky. The assassin is torn apart, screaming that a venerable saint will avenge his death. Yang Mu and the spirit can only stare, realizing this newcomer killed him in seconds. Zhao grabs our boy, complaining he used 50% of his power and accidentally overdid it. He then tries to play it off, suggesting they just pretend this never happened. A lone fish floats through the sky, completely speechless at the casual murder. A quick stat check confirms He Lu was a low-rank demon god, now officially deceased. Meanwhile, back at the contest, Xiaohua stands over their defeated teammate. The blonde woman tries to de-escalate, but the chaos is interrupted by an approaching threat. A pair of security guards rush in, demanding to know what's happening. Realizing they're drawing too much attention, the woman orders a tactical retreat. In a cloud of smoke, the entire group vanishes without a trace. But they leave their blue-haired teammate behind to face the confused guards. The blonde woman reappears, effortlessly charming the guards to de-escalate the situation. But beneath her smile, she's worried about Yang Mu's fate. Elsewhere, 2 men sit defeated, their popsicles doing little to lift their spirits. An older man warns his companion that the Xinli organization is not to be trifled with. Yang Mu is surprised to find a glowing flower on his shoulder, his wound already healed. The little spirit explains the flower uses spiritual power to regenerate his body. How very convenient. He asks his new savior about the demon he just killed and the mysterious venerable saint. Zhao Lingfeng identifies the saint as a major god, then casually plans his next apology by violence. He suddenly remembers his purpose, grabbing Yang Mu by the shirt to take him to the arena. With a bewildered scream, our boy is dragged through a swirling vortex of energy. They emerge into a massive stadium, the roar of an unseen crowd echoing around them. Yang Mu is slammed against an invisible barrier, completely lost in this new location. His eyes scan the stands, drawn to a specific seat reserved for the players. And there he is, the one-eyed official, smirking as if he's been waiting for him all along. The one-eyed official laments that his assassin was discovered by the powerful Zhao Lingfeng. With a casual apology, the official's bodyguard hurls Yang Mu into the arena. Our boy is sent flying through the air, still attached to his chair. He lands with a crash, screaming Zhao Lingfeng's name in a fit of pure rage. He finds himself under a spotlight, seated before the other contestants. Trying to play it cool, he apologizes for being late, sensing the killing intent in the room. His casual entrance immediately enrages the other demons in the crowd. The little spirit explains that his immense power is being mistaken for pure arrogance. The official's bodyguard cheers him on, calling him second master for some reason. But Yang Mu embraces the role, declaring he's here to get famous no matter what. He boldly declares this is a contest of creativity, telling everyone to leave if they can't compete. But his grandstanding is interrupted by a hand grabbing his wrist in agreement. A green-haired contestant praises his spirit, claiming to be a longtime admirer. Yang Mu is completely bewildered, wondering how this stranger could possibly know him. The crowd murmurs, recognizing the green-haired man as a famous star. This interaction enrages one of his fans, who screams at Yang Mu for touching her idol. Elsewhere in the arena, a shadowy figure lets out a quiet, sinister laugh. It's one of the official's bodyguards, promising to enjoy the coming chaos. He then turns his attention to another contestant, vowing death upon the 16th night. The tension is broken as the host takes the stage, officially welcoming everyone to the contest. The host introduces the judges, a panel representing both the One and Xinli organizations. The purple-haired judge seems quite taken with Yang Mu, admiring his bold entrance. Another judge scoffs, declaring his support for a contestant who relies on actual strength. But the elderly judge simply strokes his beard, remaining silent and unimpressed. The little spirit floats nervously, its attention fixed on the powerful figures in the box. It senses a familiar spiritual power from the old man, leaving Yang Mu completely confused. The host then announces a major change to the rules. This year, there will only be 2 rounds. The contestants, including our boy, are completely floored by this sudden news. He explains that to win, contestants must simply tell the best story. So much for a death match. Outside, the general public is thrilled by the news, completely unaware of the stakes. Yang Mu sits frozen, surrounded by the ethereal blue flames of human desire. The little spirit is overwhelmed, sensing the sheer volume of wishes in the air. The host declares this the most exciting Demon King competition in history. He gestures toward the judges, the arbiters of this grand spectacle. One judge notes the rules were changed to harvest human wishes, a rare one-time resource. The purple-haired judge observes these aren't negative desires, but something purer. But the elderly judge remains silent, his thoughts a complete mystery. Yang Mu realizes this contest is a collaboration, a way for both factions to harvest desires. The spirit questions if this can even be called a deadly competition anymore. But Yang Mu is unfazed, confident that no matter the rules, this will be easy. The host takes center stage, telling the players to look ahead. The contestants find strange, horned staffs have appeared before them. He explains they must channel their spiritual power into these horns to begin. Their imaginations will be broadcast live, with the top 4 advancing, so it's a demonic talent show. Great. The other contestants whisper in panic, fearing mortals will discover their secrets. The entire room buzzes with concern over this sudden change of plans. But a confident step silences the crowd, drawing all eyes to the stage. The purple-haired judge offers her assistance to improve the game. She explains her power can alter the very fabric of their stories. Her world skill can censor anything dangerous, making it kid-friendly. I have several questions. She promises her power will keep their demonic secrets safe from mortal eyes. With a grand gesture, the host officially kicks off the demon story contest. Yang Mu panics, realizing he has no time to prepare a story for the contest. A nearby contestant mocks him, doubting anyone would care about his story. But the little spirit smacks some sense into him, urging him to get focused. The shock works, and Yang Mu's fear is replaced by a sudden, burning resolve. He decides to tell a story he's only just recently learned. His story begins with a young man named Zhang Xun. An orphan raised in a small village, Zhang Xun was a simple, hard-working farmer. And his world revolved around his kind and charming younger sister, Achu. His only dream was to provide for his sister, so she could marry for love. But that simple, carefree life was not meant to last. Because one day, the drums of war shattered their peaceful existence. The world he knew was broken in an instant. He was thrown into the chaos and bloodshed of the battlefield. There he met a man named Lao Guo who became a brother to him. Lao Guo taught him the grim realities of survival in a world of violence. Together they fought against impossible odds, earning the rank of lieutenant general. On his rare visits home, Lao Guo became part of their small, happy family. For a brief time, it seemed like those peaceful days might just last forever. Lao Guo had even confessed that Achu was the one he wanted to marry. And in her quiet, gentle way, Achu felt the exact same. Zhang Xun saw their love and gave his blessing, happy to see his sister find her own path. He told Lao Guo to bring a dowry the next time he returned, sealing their future. But that next time would never come as rebels invaded the imperial city. The emperor fled, the army collapsed, and their world was plunged into chaos. Lao Guo urged him to return to the village and save Achu so they could all escape. But as he rode through the burning countryside, his worst fears were realized. He arrived to find his sister cornered by soldiers, screaming for her brother. And with a desperate cry, Zhang Xun charged in, ready to die for his family. He fought with everything he had, but was brutally cut down by a volley of arrows. Outnumbered and defeated, he could only watch as the rebels dragged his sister away. In his despair, he prayed to any god that would listen, offering his very soul. And in the darkness, a voice answered, asking if he truly desired power. The god was a 3-headed demon who offered a deal, his help for Zhang Xun's body. With nothing left to lose, he accepted, and a monstrous power filled him. The soldiers who took his sister were suddenly rocked by a series of explosions. A new, terrifying strength coursed through Zhang Xun's veins. He returned not as a man, but as a demon of pure, unstoppable vengeance. The soldiers could only stare in horror at the monster they had just created. The first soldier doesn't even have time to scream before the end comes. He's torn apart in a blur of pure, unrestrained demonic fury. Jiang Xun becomes a whirlwind of death, cutting down every soldier in his path. He hunted them for miles, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. But in his rage, he lost himself, killing indiscriminately while searching for Achu. He finally finds someone, his hands gripping them with monstrous strength. But the face staring back in terror is not a soldier's, it's his sister. The demonic haze finally breaks, and he realizes he's wounded the one person he swore to protect. As she lies dying in his arms, Achu speaks her final words. She begs him to live on, for himself and for the man she loved. He couldn't fulfill Lao Guo's final wish for his sister, because Lao Guo had returned, finding his friend cradling the woman he loved. Jiang Xun could only weep, his mind completely broken by grief. He declared that from that day forward, he and Lao Guo would be enemies. Their bond shattered in a flash of lightning, their brotherhood turned to hatred. He let out a primal scream, his grief twisting into pure demonic rage. The man he once was had vanished, replaced by a monster. He learned a harsh lesson: the gods grant your wish, then take everything away. As he fought the demon's influence, Lao Guo was gravely wounded in the battle. The demonic power surged, threatening to consume him completely. He was trapped, forced to watch the carnage the demon wrought in his name. Bound in a hellish prison, he could only watch his world burn. But one day, a new power arrived, one that even the demon god feared. A warrior radiating pure demonic fury, his eyes burning with vengeance. The demon explained this man had also made a deal, trading his soul for a wish. And in that moment, Jiang Xun recognized his old friend, Lao Guo. His friend was now a monster, consumed by the need to avenge Achu. Jiang Xun desperately tried to tell him the truth, to share his sister's final words. But his pleas were lost in the storm of their shared grief and rage. The demon inside him took control, striking down his friend without mercy. With everyone he loved gone, Jiang Xun was left with nothing but despair. As time passed, the demon's power and rage grew unchecked. It became arrogant and proud, believing itself to be invincible. But its pride led to a shocking defeat at the hands of a mere human. A young man with a familiar, determined gaze stood against the beast. The demon was finally brought down, its reign of terror seemingly over. But another soul was trapped, feeling a woman's desire to end it all. In that moment, he saw a vision of Achu and Lao Guo. He realized he could finally do something meaningful with his life. And with that thought, he found a strange, final sense of peace. He vows to take his sinful body to hell if it means seeing them again. Back in the present, Yang Mu channels this raw emotion into his performance. A massive wave of spiritual energy erupts from him, overwhelming the arena. He's lost in the story, trapped in the shattered fragments of a broken soul. And in that darkness, Jiang Xun finally finds his long-awaited rest. But a hand reaches out, a familiar voice calling his name from the light. He looks up to see the very people he fought and died for. Lao Guo and Achu smile, urging him to join them and find peace. Tears of joy stream down his face, his 1,000-year burden finally lifted. Together at last, their tragic story finally comes to a peaceful end. Yang Mu is left in tears, overwhelmed by the raw emotion of the story he just told. The little spirit can only stare, recognizing the tale but confused by this new ending. But Yang Mu is already back to his usual self, explaining that every story is a life relived. In the audience, a man is completely overcome with emotion, weeping at the powerful performance. It's the student from the alley, cheering so loudly that Yang Mu's teammates have to shut him up. But another contestant celebrates his own victory, boasting about his massive viewer count. The host takes the stage as the timer hits 0, officially ending the first round. The results flash on screen, revealing the top 2 finishers of the story contest. The crowd murmurs, realizing the pretty boy won with fewer viewers but more donations. Looks really do pay the bills. His fans are, of course, completely losing their minds over his handsome face. The host announces the third-place finisher, a surprising foreign contestant. The winner is Ellie Croft, who's clearly got a dedicated and very vocal fan base. She quickly shuts down the host, who is about to reveal more personal details. Her attention is fixed on the green-haired pretty boy, pledging her unwavering support. She watches him from afar, completely lost in her admiration for the second-place winner. But Duanmu seems concerned, noticing that Yang Mu's name is missing from the list. The student from the alley demands to know who took 4th place, pointing to the screen. On the main screen, one name is climbing at an impossible rate, its numbers soaring. The judges can only stare in disbelief as the viewer count breaks 600,000. The counter finally stops at 1st place, and the winner is revealed to have black hair. The crowd erupts in confusion as Yang Mu takes 1st place with over 1 million viewers. Our boy's too busy basking in his own glory to notice the spirit's urgent warning. But his victory turns to rage when he sees his donation total, a pathetic 10 coins. The host points out this strange discrepancy, asking the judges for their official rating. The purple-haired judge seems unimpressed, praising another contestant's horror story instead. The second judge agrees, preferring the romance story from a different competitor. But the elderly judge silences them, preparing to deliver his final verdict. He reveals Yang Mu's story was unique, the first to use a demon god's own memories. Suddenly, the host receives a message through his earpiece, a new development in the contest. With a knowing smirk, he confirms he's received his new instructions. The host announces the judge's final decision, placing Yang Mu in third to advance to the finals. His smug victory pose enrages the other contestants, who are barely restrained from attacking him. But the green-haired pretty boy is a fan, congratulating Yang Mu on his story and massive donations. He then laments his own curse, being so handsome that no one takes his talent seriously. Must be tough. Yang Mu is completely unimpressed, finding the pretty boy's problems incredibly annoying. Meanwhile, his teammates argue over who to support, but the blue-haired man has only one goal: killing Chijin. A new challenger appears, taunting Yang Mu and calling him by his mentor's name, 16th Knight. The name enrages his mentor, who screams that he has a score to settle with this 15th Knight. The contestant, Chijin, sneers back, declaring only his father can use his real name. But their confrontation is cut short, as they're both suddenly teleported away in a flash of golden light. The contestants are caught in the golden light, completely baffled by this sudden teleportation. From his seat, the elderly judge laughs, casually controlling the immense power with a single finger. He impatiently declares it's time for the final round to begin, taking matters into his own hands. The golden energy swirls, pulling the finalists from the arena and into the unknown. Yang Mu and the other finalists are unceremoniously dropped into a strange new location. As our hero complains about the rough landing, the spirit reminds him he's still a total amateur. The host appears, firing a starting pistol and officially kicking off the final game. Ellie Croft lands with purpose, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar, rain-slicked environment. Chijin also takes his position, his expression cold and focused on the coming battle. The final round is a maze, where players must steal story cards from each other to win. So much for a talent show. Yang Mu is completely stunned, realizing this contest is nothing like he expected. The rules are explained. 3 types of cards control the story, with a single green card to end it all. The winner will be decided by points, making this a high-stakes scavenger hunt. His teammates can only watch in horror, realizing the game is more complex than ever. The purple-haired judge clarifies the rules. Spiritual powers are allowed, but killing is strictly forbidden. His mentor screams in protest, knowing Yang Mu is hopelessly outmatched against the other finalists. But the host simply smiles, revealing he has a way to level the playing field. Each contestant wears a bracelet that will monitor their spiritual power. If anyone's power exceeds a certain level, they will be punished. So it's a handicap match. Great. But Chijin is ecstatic, his blade gleaming with the promise of a real fight. The host explains each player will start with a single blue card as he begins the final countdown. The green-haired pretty boy, Duan Mu, eyes his card as the timer hits 3. A confident smirk spreads across his face, already certain of his strategy. Chijin also receives his card, sneering that he's too smart to fall for any obvious traps. Ellie Croft's expression hardens, vowing to get serious for Duan Mu's sake. As the game officially begins, Yang Mu looks like he's just realized he left the oven on. Chijin immediately sprints into the maze, wasting no time. Duan Mu is right behind him, a blur of motion as the hunt for cards begins. Ellie Croft also takes off, navigating the strange, rain-slicked battlefield. But Yang Mu remains perfectly still, apparently checking his phone. A bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off. But our hero is too busy admiring his shiny new card, enraging the spirit who reminds him the race has already started. Yang Mu suddenly understands the true objective. This isn't about the story, but about finding the green card to win. He realizes the green card likely isn't even in the maze yet, a final piece to a much larger puzzle. The little spirit can only stare in shock, completely floored by his sudden burst of insight. He explains the game's design encourages players to score points, not just rush to the end. The organizers want a show, a grand finale that will bring them the most profit. And with that, he realizes this isn't a contest, it's a live demonic reality show. From the stands, one of the official's bodyguards watches with a look of grudging respect. The purple-haired judge is also impressed, admitting Yang Mu has figured out their entire plan. But the elderly judge just smiles, noting that while he's smart, every player sees the game differently. Ellie Croft is the first to find a card, eager to get on the scoreboard. She begins her story, a classic tale of a prince in a faraway kingdom. But her victory is short-lived as she sees Duanmu walking away without her. With a starstruck expression, she calls out to the man she clearly idolizes. She begs to join him, hoping to form an alliance for the rest of the game. But Duanmu's friendly facade drops, replaced by a cold, calculating smirk. Their interaction is cut short by Chijin, who declares her story is complete garbage. He wastes no time, grabbing the girl by the throat in a sudden violent attack. He demands her cards, his true target being his rival, the 16th Knight. But Ellie's fear is replaced by pure rage, a silent promise of retaliation. A monstrous crimson aura erupts from Ellie, who accuses Chijin of defiling Duanmu's name. Chijin's grin widens, intrigued by the revelation that this girl is a demon god. Elsewhere, Yang Mu finds an interruption card as the spirit senses the massive power spike. The spirit screams his name, urging him to get involved in the fight. Yang Mu hurls the card, interrupting the story just as Ellie lies defeated on the ground. The card lands beside her as her original tragic tale of a bullied prince is cut short. But Chijin hijacks the narrative, twisting it into a story of fratricide and ambition. He grins sadistically, asking if everyone enjoys his much darker version of the tale. Guess he's a fan of grimdark endings. Yang Mu watches as Chijin stands over his defeated opponent, calling out to the 16th Knight. The game announces Chijin has scored 2 points for his brutal interruption and scary story. Chijin lunges forward with a manic grin, demanding his opponent hand over all their cards. But Yang Mu summons his wooden companion, Ye Meng, now a giant spiked club ready for a fight. The bizarre weapon slams into Chijin, who can only stare in shock at this strange new power. From a safe distance, Yang Mu watches the beatdown, noting his opponent's reckless impulsiveness. The spirit warns that despite the power limiter, Chijin is still a formidable and cunning opponent. But Chijin stops the attack with a single hand, boasting he needs no tricks to crush our hero. A golden light envelops the wooden dummy, freezing it in place with a look of pure shock. Yang Mu panics, realizing his summoned companion is completely paralyzed by this new technique. Chijin reveals his power, a golden energy that turns any substance into an inanimate statue. But Yang Mu's first thought is how rich he'll be, because priorities are important in a deathmatch. Chijin roars in fury, vowing to turn Yang Mu into worthless gold. A brilliant beam of golden energy erupts, aimed directly at our hero. But Yang Mu blocks the blast with a giant leaf, preferring cash over statues. With a confident grin, he unleashes his latest copyright-infringing technique. 2 new plant-like companions erupt from the ground, ready for battle. Chijin can only stare in disbelief, his composure completely shattered. The strange new summons unleash a volley of glowing green projectiles. The energy blasts collide in a blinding flash of light and power. The explosion sends Chijin flying, and Yang Mu celebrates his brilliant strategy. The little spirit is stunned, realizing Yang Mu can now summon 2 creatures at once. With a furious roar, Yang Mu leaps forward to deliver the final blow himself. But Chijin's expression is one of cold, unimpressed contempt. Yang Mu's punch connects with an unseen force, shattering his knuckles in a spray of blood. He's sent skidding backward, completely baffled by the invisible defense. Chijin reveals his true power, warning that the bracelet is the only thing keeping Yang Mu alive. But his gloating is cut short as he realizes his story card is suddenly missing. A confident, knowing smirk spreads across Yang Mu's face. He triumphantly reveals his own interruption card, having played his opponent perfectly. But his victory lap is spent screaming at his own plant summons for their reckless friendly fire. A new player has joined the game, as Duanmu traps Chijin and calmly critiques Yang Mu's language. Duanmu summons a massive fiery phoenix, asking if they want to see his archery. He fires a single arrow of swirling, concentrated blue energy. The arrow creates a massive vortex, pulling in both Chijin and Yang Mu's summons. Yang Mu screams in shock as his spiritual power is drained away by the vortex. Chijin struggles against the immense force, his own power being absorbed. He glares back in fury, realizing Duanmu's attack was aimed at him all along. Duanmu declares that while Ellie is his opponent, he finds rude men like Chijin far more irritating. But Chijin just laughs, completely unimpressed by the grand display of power. Yang Mu and the spirit can only watch, stunned by this sudden 3-way battle. The vortex finally collapses, slamming directly into the already defeated Ellie Croft. Looks like she's having a really bad day. But Duanmu just smirks, revealing his grand attack was far from over. Ellie Croft is suddenly engulfed in a fiery aura, a phoenix rising from the ashes of her defeat. Yangmu realizes in horror that Duanmu transferred his spiritual power directly into her body. With glowing white eyes, Ellie is now supercharged and ready for a brutal rematch. Chijin's sadistic grin widens, clearly enjoying this chaotic turn of events. He proposes a temporary truce, suggesting they team up to eliminate Yangmu first. But Yangmu turns to find Duanmu has already vanished, leaving him to face this new threat alone. He screams in frustration as the little spirit calmly informs him he just missed his exit. With no other options, Yangmu makes the only logical choice, a tactical retreat. One of his plant summons questions his cowardice, asking why he's running from a 3-on-1 fight. But Yangmu isn't just running. He has a plan, a way to turn this entire game on its head. 10 minutes later, his brilliant plan seems to be getting cornered by Duanmu. From the stands, his teammates worry, realizing both Duanmu and Chijin are far more powerful than they seem. They watch in frustration as the other players just fight, completely ignoring the objective of the game. Duanmu seems to give up the chase, turning his back on our hero. But it's a feint, as he turns back with a charming smile, his attention now on Ellie Croft. Yangmu lets out a sinister laugh, his own chaotic plan finally falling into place, and right on cue, Ellie Croft appears, declaring she's finally found him. She immediately uses an interruption card, hijacking the narrative to save the story's prince. Her new story is a fairy tale romance, earning her a massive point boost and putting her in the lead. Guess all's fair in love and demonic reality shows. But her victory is cut short by another interruption card, this time slapped right on her face. Yangmu hijacks the story again, turning her fairy tale prince into a drooling idiot. Enraged, Ellie screams that he doesn't understand romance as the game awards him a point. But her fury turns to shock as she realizes the implications of his move. With a cold smirk, Yangmu asks if she's run out of cards to play. He then tells her to use her magic to call her beloved Duanmu for help. A truly unsettling grin spreads across his face as he offers her a proposition. His offer leaves both Duanmu and Ellie completely disgusted and at a loss for words. Because Yangmu's brilliant plan is to set up a shop and sell the cards he's collected. Capitalism finds a way, even in a death match. A strange new spirit scolds him for his lack of integrity, but Yangmu just argues it's a valid strategy. Duanmu can only facepalm, completely stunned by this shameless display of capitalism. But Ellie Croft, despite her better judgment, is already asking for the price. Yangmu launches into his sales pitch, offering a bulk discount on all the cards he's collected. Duanmu tries to warn him, explaining that this kind of stunt is bound to get him in trouble. But Yangmu just strikes a pose, quoting some inspirational nonsense about being an entrepreneur. In the stands, the purple-haired judge is ready to kill him, but is reminded he hasn't actually broken any rules. The deal is done, leaving his competitors with a severe case of buyer's remorse. With his pockets full, Yangmu declares it's time to play the game peacefully. Meanwhile, another contestant is still searching, wondering where everyone else is hiding. He looks up at the scoreboard, horrified to see the other three have been racking up points without him. He screams in disbelief, wondering how the other three are racking up points so quickly. The story they're telling is a chaotic epic of a prince fighting a girl-turned-monster. The narrative then takes a sharp turn into sci-fi, with aliens and spaceships joining the fray. Even the host is left completely speechless, utterly baffled by this bizarre plot twist. The purple-haired judge erupts in fury, screaming that their story is absolute garbage. Unseen, the fourth contestant finally closes in on the other three players. He grins, believing they're exhausted from fighting and ripe for an ambush. But Yangmu simply announces he's out of blue cards, his part of the story now finished. Duanmu calmly plays a red card, ready to interrupt and continue their shared tale. Ellie Croft urges him to use the blue cards first, revealing their collaborative strategy. The fourth contestant finally finds the others, but they're just playing a friendly game of Go Fish. His brilliant ambush is ruined, as he realizes they weren't fighting at all. Their game ends as three pairs of demonic eyes turn on their new target. But Chijin declares it was all a trap, unleashing a powerful blast of golden energy. Suddenly, a brilliant green light cuts through the chaos, a new power entering the fray. The host announces the green ending card has finally appeared, signaling the game's climax. Both Duanmu and Chijin lunge for the card, their powers clashing in a desperate race. But a strange, fleshy power erupts, a wall of countless watching eyes. Duanmu is caught in the strange attack, his body suddenly paralyzed. Chijin is also ensnared, his movement slowing to a crawl as the power takes hold. The source of the attack is revealed. Ellie Croft, her third eye commanding a wall of demonic sight. The spirit explains her power, a time-slowing field that affects anything in her vision. But Yang Mu sees an opening, his own power flaring as he formulates a plan. He orders his plant summons to change form, upgrading them with Gatling guns. Because of course he does. The newly armed plants unleash a torrent of energy, a bullet hell aimed right at Ellie. She's forced to dodge the relentless barrage, her time-slowing spell now useless. With his speed restored, Yang Mu lunges for the green card, confident of his victory. But Chijin is enraged, screaming at the girl for daring to use her power on him. A massive explosion of spiritual energy erupts with the final card at its very center. With a manic grin, Yang Mu turns his attention to his final opponent, Duan Mu. Duan Mu draws his bow, a confident smirk on his face as he challenges Yang Mu. With a flash of blue energy, his arrow pins the green card to the ground. Yang Mu and the spirit realize the final card is now officially in play. The card is now fixed to a wall in the center of the maze, a clear target for everyone. Duan Mu reveals his power, the ability to teleport the card anywhere he wishes. He taunts Yang Mu, asking if he really thought victory would be that easy. He reveals he's a veteran of this contest, but has never taken first place. But now he understands that a worthy rival is more important than any prize. So I guess this is his villain origin story. Yang Mu can only scream, realizing his opponent has gone completely off script. Duan Mu declares a new game, a one-on-one fight where the winner gets the final card. Duan Mu unleashes a massive, fiery phoenix, a grand attack aimed at everyone. Yang Mu feels the immense pressure, knowing he'll be pulled in if he doesn't move. He summons an earth clone, a cartoonish decoy to take the brunt of the blast. The fiery attack barrels forward, looking less like a phoenix and more like a demonic missile. Duan Mu explains his shadow-catching technique is a homing attack that can't be dodged. Yang Mu screams for help, but the spirit confirms even his clone can't stop this. But Duan Mu's gaze isn't fixed on Yang Mu. His target is someone else entirely. A new challenger appears, one of the official's bodyguards applauding Yang Mu's strength. Duan Mu simply scoffs, completely unimpressed by the praise. He declares the bodyguard's skills are trash and promises to show him a true devil. Looks like the pretty boy has a dark side. But Chijin taunts him, asking where his so-called armor is now. Before Duan Mu can react, he's impaled by a volley of golden energy spikes. Chijin stands victorious, revealing the attack was meant to run him through. The host announces the shocking upset. Chijin has defeated Duan Mu with brute force. From the stands, Yang Mu watches in horror, hoping his rival is still alive. The purple-haired judge notes that Chijin is new, but far too dangerous to provoke. Chijin stands over his fallen opponent, waiting patiently for his next target. He grins, his own field of demonic eyes scanning the maze for his next victim. And right on cue, Ellie Croft appears, ready to avenge her fallen idol. With a furious roar, she promises that Chijin is the one who's going to die. But Chijin meets her attack with a confident grin, his own power flaring to life. Ellie screams in disbelief, unable to understand how he's moving so fast. He reveals his trick, a fine powder that spreads like mold, blinding her demonic eyes. Golden spikes erupt from the ground, trapping her as he mocks her for defending a demi-human. He grabs her by the chin, promising she'll watch as he kills Yang Mu and wins the contest. With a massive golden scythe, he calls out to his final target, the 16th Knight.